Welcome everyone to our Wednesday webinar. My name is Michael Wimberly and I will be discussing the myPDS search tool. So once again, the overall agenda for this webinar is introductions. Then we'll go through just an overview of myPDS search and kind of talk about some of the challenges of expanding into the PLM and the PDM world, and then how myPDS search actually helps to move that forward. Then of course I'll do a live demo, and then we'll have a Q&A. Throughout the demonstration, if there are questions inside of your webinar interface, there is a spot in there for questions. You can post those in there, and depending on the question or where I'm at, I may answer them at the time, but more than likely I'll probably answer them at the end of the webinar. All right, so once again, my name is Michael Wimberly. I've been employed with PDSVISION for now over 12 years, which of course is over 11. I've been working with PTC products for over 25 years. I've been working in the PTC channel for over 20 years, and of course been a certified trainer as well as implementer of Creo and Windchill. PDSVISION at a glance, we are headquartered in Stockholm. We operate in actually 12 different countries. So if you are a company and you have a global footprint, we're a great partner for you all because we also have a global footprint in the majority of the regions or the business regions that are used or that are around the world, busy around the world. We're a trusted advisor of software solutions and services in the digital transformation with over 2,500 years of combined technical expertise within our domain. One of PTC's top partner, Platinum. And then, of course, the myPDS is simply an increase in the value of your investment. So this is actually a tool that we own and we develop as PDSVISION that helps or enhances your investment into the actual PTC products. So digital transformation, once again, we all know, pardon me, that there are challenges as we move more into the digital world. One of them is our products. One of the things that we want to do with our products as we move forward, of course, is make them smart. We want to connect them through the Internet of Things. We also want to go in and fulfill regulations and build a digital twin. So with all of that, we're basically taking all the things that we used to do manually or that we have stored in our head, and we're trying to now put those things into a digital form, whether it is document digital form or, as I even said here, a digital twin, which is basically a duplicate of your physical machine in CAD and other areas. In the production area, of course, we always want to decrease manufacturing downtime. We want to be able to predict failures. We want to go in and gather all the knowledge of the aging workforce. So as some of our senior workers begin to retire, we want to make sure we don't lose all that knowledge that they've had over the decades of their experience. So we want to go in and harness that information through some processes, through some documentations, things like that, just to kind of help us along or to continue to grow the knowledge that they've given us. And then, of course, you always want to go in and be able to optimize the production through AI. We all know AI is, I was going to say the future, but it's the now. So everything is now being influenced by AI. So we can go in and use that in our environments as well. Processes. This is one of the biggest pieces to moving into that digital area, is to remove data silos. What that basically means is instead of having a copy of a file here, a copy of a file there, or in 4 or 5 different areas, there's one area that that file resides in and everybody points to it. That's where Windchill comes in, because as you expand outside of just the PDM world into the PLM world, now we involve more areas of your company into the actual Windchill environment to access the data that they need, whether we're talking documents, whether we're talking bill of materials, customer information, even being able to download PDFs and IGES files or things like that they need to send to vendors. We want all that information centralized and real time inside of our environment. And of course, we want to go in and also have smart connected systems so that they actually talk to each other. So we're not always just doing a manual input from one area to another. We actually able to maybe export out of one and import into another seamlessly, and then of course smart connected operations, and then of course our service and operations area. The overall infrastructure piece of it, well, of course, we want to reduce non-value IT costs. As we all know, a lot of things are moving to the cloud. So instead of actually having physical hardware in your facility, a lot of people are going in and using the cloud. And then actually, instead of having the physical software, they're using software as a service, or SaaS. So that's also being updated as well. And of course, PTC has both of those areas with our Windchill software, of course, and of course, moving forward with our Creo software. And then data, big data. You have a lot of information. We want to make sure that we continue to capture that information. We want to create value out of the data. Once again, talk about AI, data lakes, or even the analysis that we need to do for them. Data and cybersecurity. As we do move into the digital world, whether we're talking cloud infrastructure, just the internet as a whole, we want to make sure that our data is still secure. So we want to go in and put those measures into place as well. And then, of course, we want to create new business models. We can't continue to maintain our old business models, which reference old processes, when we're moving forward into a more digital and seamless integration. So with that, we want to go in and develop new business models that actually help our environment, our company as a whole, move a little bit smoother. All right, so the challenge of extending PLM to the enterprise, once again, it can be time consuming because infrequent PLM users, once again, we're talking Windchill, can find the enterprise system too complex for retrieving information. So we know those of us that use Windchill on a normal basis, it's not that complex because we're used to it. Was it easy when we first started it? Probably not, but as we use it more, just like any other tool, we become more familiar with it and we can navigate through it a lot easier. But for those that don't use Windchill on a normal basis or regular basis, yeah, it can be a little bit overwhelming for them sometimes. And once again, it can be unproductive because daily PLM users get distracted and burdened by requests from other roles to become bottlenecks for retrieving product information. So somebody that doesn't either have access to Windchill, or once again, they feel it would take them too long to find what they need, they're going to go in and find somebody that is comfortable in the system and ask them to go in and retrieve information for them, which once again now stops that person from doing what they're doing to help someone else. So there's a trade-off in where the work is being done. And then once again, in uncertain quality is accurate data sent to production and suppliers. If we're not using a PLM system and we're just always using exports, or we have them on a shared drive somewhere, not even using a PLM environment, then yeah, the question always is this the latest and greatest, or does somebody have the latest and greatest on their local computer? But once again, by going in and integrating it into the PLM environment, we're always looking at the latest and greatest at the appropriate state that we need. PDS search. As you can see with the simple image on the right side, that's what it looks like. So it's simply an overlay onto Windchill. It is installed on the Windchill server. It uses your Windchill authentication and access rights. It doesn't give you anything new. You still log into it with your Windchill credentials, and whatever permissions you have are the same permissions you're going to have inside of PDS search. The product that you have access to, those are the ones that you're going to have. You're not going to get anything new by going in and using the myPDS search environment. And little to no training is required. If you know how to go in and type in a part number, you can use PDS search, because all you're doing is now searching for that particular information and telling it what information you want to collect. It is highly customizable. The user interface is adaptable for each role within the enterprise. Search criteria and filters can be changed and updated. Metadata to retrieve what information you actually want to retrieve. So what are you searching for? And then the information that you retrieve. And then, of course, the file formats to actually retrieve. And then, of course, customized branding. As you can see up in the top left corner, we've got it as, once again, PDSVISION search. We can now go and customize that, of course, with your logo as well. And then fewer clicks for everybody. Several views can be set up to match the needs for each department, each role, or even specific users. So as we're going in and we're using myPDS search, as an individual logs in, their role gets analyzed and then their environment is updated based on their particular role. So once again, just like when we're inside of Windchill, we can go through and change what some of the menus are as far as what options are available in menus. We can go through and customize this as well to make sure that the people have access to only what they need access to, or search for just the information that they need. If they don't have, ECN information or baseline information and they're just using part numbers, then just give them part numbers. They don't need all the information because that becomes confusing. So just filter down to what they actually need. And then what does your department consume daily, and how much time do they spend on retrieving and processing it? So basically, when you go through and you look at the information that is inside of Windchill, how often is things being retrieved, who outside of your immediate department needs that information, and how much time do you spend getting that information for them? Or if it is you that you need that information, how much easier would it be for you to be able to do it yourself versus having to find somebody to fit it into their schedule to get you what you need? So examples, of course, we just have three main departments that we're just touching right now: purchasing, manufacturing, and of course project managers. With purchasing, of course, now we want to go through and send off files to a contractor. They need DXF files, they need PDF files, whatever it is. As a individual using myPDS search, you can go in and retrieve that information. The top level assembly, find that top level assembly and collect all of the data underneath that. Compile bill of materials, you can convert objects to available neutral file formats. So maybe there's a file that you need that actually isn't created. So we have an IGES file, but the customer is asking for a step file. Well, I can go in and find that particular file and send it back to the publisher and have it now recreate me a step file or whichever other format I need. I have a PDF file, but they need a DXF file. I can go through and do that as well. So I can actually send information to the publisher from myPDS search. And then visually compare changes within different versions. And of course, in manufacturing, retrieve the latest release product data at all times. Once again, purchasing, manufacturing, and even project managers, their permissions are still based on their roles within that product. So for manufacturing, they're looking for released information. So the only thing they're going to find, if we've set it up that way, are the items that have been released. They're not going to see things that are in work. They're not going to see things that are waiting approved or whatever it is. They're only going to see the information that we've set up for them to see within Windchill. So when they search, they're only going to find released objects. And then, of course, they can review drawings directly on the screen. So instead of going in, if they just need to double check a dimension value, they can pull that up directly inside of myPDS search and just review it there instead of having to, once again, have somebody download it for them, send them the PDF, and then they open it up in Adobe. They can do all that directly within inside of myPDS search. And then also from a manufacturing standpoint, they may have found an issue or something they want engineering to review. Right from inside of myPDS search, they can go in and create a problem report. And then that starts the process inside of Windchill. And of course, project managers, they can go in and export reports for all change requests in an open state. They can retrieve full product structures. So other tools that are inside of Windchill can also be beneficial, once again, by simply going and looking at problem reports, change requests, and even change notices to find all the open ones, or look for a specific one by an actual number, whatever we want to go through and use it for. All right, so at this point, I will go ahead and jump into the demonstration. So as we see here, once again, this is our Windchill environment. Very straightforward. We are familiar with this. This is my home page. If I want to go through and find any information, I can go through and browse using the browsing environment. Go through all my folders to find exactly what it is that I'm looking for. I can browse. Of course, I can still go in and do my search. So I still have my search tools that I can go through and use here, as well as the search at the top of the area. It's top of the browser. So me as a regular Windchill user, this is simple for me because once again, I am comfortable with this environment. But for somebody that is not familiar with this environment, now it becomes a little bit more complex. Okay, am I searching here? What is this search here? Okay, how do I get to other products? How do I get to other files? What does this do? Okay, what do I do with this information? So it can be a little bit more overwhelming if, once again, you're not comfortable with that environment. So that's where now myPDS search comes in. As you can see, it is a very simple interface. We're searching for part numbers. We're searching for a baseline that we may have gone through and created. We can even search for an ECN that is created and find information on that ECN. We can search for specific revisions as well as the different state. Do we want the latest or we just want released? And then the information that we actually want to retrieve. Now, understand the myPDS search does not retrieve your native CAD files. So whether you're using Creo, whether you're using SolidWorks, CATIA, Inventor, whatever it may be, it is finding the related information to those CAD files and not the actual CAD files. So I'm not downloading a native sorry, that was my age, a native Creo file. I am only finding the associated files. Now, to be more specific or to expand the information, most of the tools here don't even use the CAD files. They will actually use the WT part files. That is the core, because when we start looking at drawings, now we can find drawings if we're looking at the CAD files. But what I won't be able to find is like documents, because the document is not associated with the actual CAD file. It's associated to the WT part file that is associated to the CAD file. And then some of the other tools in here are set up to only run with the WT part files. So if you're not using those, I do recommend, of course, turning them on, whether you go in and if you don't have them already set up, whether you just simply start to have them created as you check in files, or you go in and use the tool that will allow you to go through and create WT part files for all of the information inside of your Windchill environment so that they all have WT parts. But you can go through and decide how you want to do that if you're not using them. If you do have them, now actually start to use them. So don't just let them sit, and have nothing associated with them. They're just simply following around. Now start using them. Start associating different information to them as far as documents and things like that we can go through and build up. So once again, as I mentioned before, this is what we're seeing right now because of who I am, but this can also be customized. Once again, if we have purchasing, and purchasing is not in the baselines or maybe not even ECNs or anything, they're just looking at a number. And only thing that they're going to go through and retrieve are going to be drawings. So they don't need a structure. Well, I'll need the structure. But they won't need documents. They won't need DXF. They won't need step files because they're not going to go in and use that. They just want to go through and retrieve the drawings of the structures. That's it. So we don't need all that extra stuff to once again distract them and then try to figure out what it is they need. So we can expand the information that we can search for, or of course we can reduce, and we can also go through and change the resulting items that we're actually going to receive. So if it's IGES instead of step, get rid of step, add IGES. If we're not doing DXF files, then get rid of DXFs. So you can go through and definitely customize what this actually looks like. So just to get started, I'm going to go in and begin my search. Now, as you can see, once again, it's going in and finding the number. So what I typed in was actually the name, because I didn't know the part number, but I knew what the name was. But as you can see, it's going in and now retrieving everything that has SS_C. It's showing the WT parts, and it's also showing the CAD. So depending on, once again, which one you want to actually go in and use will determine what you select. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one right here, which is my top level. And then what I have selected is drawings and documents. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck documents and just tell it to go in and show me any other drawings that are associated with just this top level item. When I select search, there they are. So for that top level item, there are two PDFs that are created that are associated with that particular drawing. There they are. Now, if I did want documents, then I can just come over and select documents, select search, and have it go in and update, and now also bring in the document file. So you can see over here with the types, that's what it's going in and showing me. Sorry, there's a question that says, can PDS search pull up annotated 3D files to be used by procurement manufacturing? Are you talking about the viewables, the files that are pulled up in CreoView? Is that what you're referring to? The markups there? Or are you talking? Then yes, they should, because it also goes through and references that viewable. But I'll need to go in and find out specifically. I think by default, it's just pulling up the default viewable. So I'll need to see, is there a way to pull up that specific markup? But I don't see why I couldn't see it. But I know, once again, when we're looking at the viewables, which I'm not sure why that was not populating, but when it's pulling up the viewables, it's actually pulling up whatever that default one that gets published initially, not necessarily the markup, but I can go in and find that out. So I'll let you know, Tim. All right. So once again, with this information, we can go in and collect that. If this is all I need, then at this point, I can go in and take this and export this information out. This is all the drawing. But for this assembly, I don't just want the top level, I want everything underneath it as well. So I'm going to come over here and say, okay, instead of just being the top level, I want you to go in and retrieve all of the drawings and documents for the entire structure underneath this assembly. So I'll just go in and select, change that to structure, or add that to structure, sorry, and then select search. And then what happens, it now goes through and pulls up all of the PDFs for all of the drawings that are underneath that specific assembly. Now what I would do is I'll come over here and I'll select that, and I will select export, and then export that information out of Windchill. And when I do that, I then would get a folder. I will get a zip file that, once I extract it, underneath that folder, I'll see two files. I'll see an Excel spreadsheet, and I will actually see a files folder. When I open up the Excel spreadsheet, what I will see is everything that I exported. You see the viewable for all of those, and then of course the actual image of the actual drawings. And then you have two links. There's a link over here for info. If I select that, it will take me into Windchill to the information page for that particular object. If I come over and I select on the image, it's going to go in and now basically open up the image that I actually have downloaded to my folder. So this goes into Windchill. This one actually goes into this folder. And there are all the PDFs that I just downloaded from the system. So now if I need to send that information over to a vendor, there it is. You know, if this is something manufacturing needs, send it to them. So now I can go through and download that information directly from PDS search directly into my actual computer that I can send to whomever. Now, this is everything here. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to clear this out. And I'm going to go ahead and find that same file again. But for this one, I want to go over, and instead of finding the drawings and the documents, I want to find all the step files. I don't need the PDF files. I need the actual step files for these to be able to go through and send that information over to the vendor as well. So I'll search. Once again, that's just the top level. Forgot to select structure, search, And now it goes in and finds all the step files that were created for all of those. Same thing, selected export. And then what I end up with is, once again, another exported zip file with a PDF, with an Excel spreadsheet. With an Excel spreadsheet with the same thing. There's an information link, which takes us back into Windchill, and there's a link taking us to that specific step file in that folder that we've gone through and downloaded. So there's a step file for that. So all that information, we're just simply downloading. Once again, I have not touched Windchill as a regular user. I'm only using myPDS search, but I'm retrieving all the related information out of the system. Now, if I need both the step files and the PDF files, then I just come over here and I select drawings. It's still structure, it's still step, and now it's going to go in and add the drawings. So now what it's going to do is going to now retrieve both the PDF files and the step files, and the same thing. Now it's going to go through and give me another folder that has the PDF files and the step files. All right, so the question is, if the step file has not been generated in Windchill, will it trigger Windchill to create the step file? So with that, it will not trigger it, but one of the things that you can do, and I'll just show you this one here, is one of the actions that you can do is now go in and say publish. And I can go through and specify what it is that I wanted to publish. So if it's not there, so that's one of the benefits here of myPDS search, is that there is a format that is missing that you need, or that your vendor specifically asked for. We can now go through and actually execute the, yes, I want the step file for this particular one, and simply send it to the publisher. So I can do that directly from inside of myPDS search. So once again, this is the benefit where I don't have to bother anybody else to go in and get the information that I need. All right, and then it says, are the step files generated by the CAD worker? Yes, those are. So in the CAD worker, that's exactly what we're doing, is we're going in and we set up the CAD worker that when it goes in and publishes the files, it doesn't just give us a viewable, it also goes through and it publishes the step file or the IGES file or whatever other format that we want. Same thing with our drawings, is that we're having our publisher create the drawings in a PDF environment versus a plot file. So, and yes, myPDS is authenticated through Windchill. So when you log into when you open up myPDS, you're going to use your Windchill credentials to actually log into the system. So whatever permissions you have in Windchill are the same permissions you're going to have inside of myPDS search. So keep that in mind when we're trying to do things as well. So you're only going to be able to access the stuff that you need, that you have permission for within inside of Windchill. Does it matter what level license? No. You need at least I forgot what the new one is. It was ViewPrint. I forgot what the new license is, but no, you don't need a specific license. You need the license that allows you to do what you need to do. That's the easiest way to say it. You won't necessarily need a CAD license because you're not opening it in Creo. You're only going into Windchill. So if you had a base license, it works perfectly fine for everything that you would need to do. The rest of it is based on the permissions that are given to you within the environment. So that's how that works. So yeah, you can, if you have a base license, you'll be able to use this without any issues. If you don't need all the information from base license, you just need once again, I can't remember what the proper name is now, but it was ViewPrint. There's a new one, a new configuration name for it now, but that's basically the minimum that you'll need to be able to view the information inside of it. But with that, I'm pretty sure the publisher, I'm not sure if we'll be able to do publishing or things like that. You may not need to, depending upon your role. All right, so once again, this is the information that we can get out of the system. Once again, very simple. So let Windchill do all the work. And then instead of, once again, going to one of your designers, engineers, or whomever that you need to, that you know is comfortable inside of Windchill, everybody can be comfortable. Give me a part number. There it is. Type in the part number. Find the information. Pretty simple. Once again, the core of this is based on the WT parts. So like I said, I'm going to keep pushing the WT parts because that is a core. That's part of the thing that is necessary to transition from a PDM environment to a PLM environment. Because a lot of the Windchill PLM functionality is used through WT parts. So when we start getting into BOM management, which once again, that's something else we can go in and look at here. I'll still go in and find that same item, BOM management. If I want to go through and find the multi-level BOM for that particular item, there it is. Now, what it's also doing, because I didn't turn any of this off, is it's not only just showing me my BOM, but it's showing me my BOM with all of the drawing information associated with it. If that's not what I want, then same thing. And as you see, I'm continuing to use the name because I haven't memorized the number yet. And I can uncheck all of this and just say, give me a multi-level BOM. And you can see there's the levels here, 1, 0s, of course, top level, and then underneath everything else. And then I would simply go in and export that. And then the same thing, when I go through with that information, here is the BOM that it goes in and gives me. Once again, these infos are links to the file, to the info page back inside of Windchill. And if I did do the PDFs, still gives me the Excel spreadsheet. It just gives me links to the items inside of Windchill. So this one actually will take me into Windchill to that viewable, and this one will take me, of course, the information page. Because I didn't download those, all I'm doing is a bill of material report. It doesn't have the PDF locally, so it's pointing to the PDF on the server. Can it work with manufacturing and service views? I'm pretty sure, yes, it can. The one thing that it will show, I don't know if I have a tag on it. Wish I did. I don't remember one of the part numbers. But yes, as you're going in and you're looking at the information, let's see if sorry. One of these, I can't remember, and I apologize. But yes, to answer your question, yes, it works for manufacturing views. I just don't think I have any of them set up. But this WT part can be your design part, it can be your manufacturing part, it can be your service view, service part. So once you select it, you're still going to get that specific BOM based on the information. So if your part number, if you're using it where the number is the same, but the view is different, then yeah, you'll see the part number twice, which is here. One of these is manufacturing. I don't know which one. Let's find out. That one, don't think that one is it. But yeah, but once again, that's something else we can go through and customize where we actually have the view there as well. But yes, I'm sorry, to answer your question, yes, you can go in and use your manufacturing view or your service view, or once again, the default being the design view. But yes, all of these can go through and actually show that information. So yes, if that is the BOM that you're using inside of, let's just say, to export out of Windchill into your ERP, or even for manufacturing to have, yes, we can go in and specifically go in and use that manufacturing view. Can you customize a search to show a certain? Yes. Yes. Then once again, customizable. So the information here, you can go through and add any type of attributes that you want. Once again, it is Windchill. This is just an overlay from Windchill. So any attributes that you have in Windchill, we can go in and show here as well. And then once again, that will now be, like you said, yeah, the import information that we're looking at. So we may have the import export codes. Sure, yep. So yes, any of that information is customizable, so you can get the appropriate information that you need to export out of the system. So, yes. All right. One other thing real quick, we just look at some of the ECNs. One of the things that we can go in and do, of course, is search for a particular ECN. So if we know what they are, we can go through and search. It finds that particular ECN. I go in and execute the search, and it goes in and finds the drawing associated with that particular ECN. So I can go through and find them individually, or if I need to go through and actually look at what ECNs are open, I can go through and do that as well. Here's a reports tab. And with the reports tab, you can see there's your problem reports, there's your ECRs, and there's your ECNs. If I want to go through and find out, hey, what are all the open problem reports currently, I can go through and select that, give it a time period, and then of course, or give it a date. I'm just going to leave everything as default, show me everything. The good thing is it's not tons, there's 2 of them. And you can see when they were created and who created them, as well as the objects that are associated with that particular ECN. I'm sorry, problem report. We can do the same thing for ECRs. What ECRs are open, and create it from here. I'm sorry, and show them from here. So this shows that there are 15 open ECRs, and of course there's a link to it directly inside of Windchill. So if I select on this link, it's going to take me to that particular ECR inside of Windchill. So I can go in and look at the status and see where everything is. And then the same thing with the ECNs, and go in and see what those are as well. And this is pretty nice because when you're looking at the ECNs, it shows you what the current files are and the resulting files. So if you went in and updated some things or added new parts, you can see this is what we started with on the ECN. When we did the resulting objects, these are the things that were actually changed on that ECN. So, all right. And then the next question that we have, or the next item that we have, is can we go in and actually start an ECR or ECN from here? Those cannot be started from here. What we can actually create from here is an actual problem report. So with the problem report, with an object, we can go through and look at a problem report. But before that, something we want to do, I'm going to show you a couple other things real quickly before I jump directly into that. Here is the actual item that I'm looking for. So I will go in and do a search. Same thing, it'll go in and find that particular file. Great. Now, some of the other tools, just like anytime we're getting into any other ECRs, ECNs, there's something important that we need to do before we go in and execute a change, and that's to find out where something is used. So inside of here, I can select on this file, and one of the actions is where used. So once we have that information, okay, this is used inside of this assembly. You can see there's an expansion. This is used inside of that assembly. Okay, there's another expansion. When I go in and expand that, this is used in all of those assemblies. So this is one of those things where it's like, okay, before we make a change on this top level item here, this change can possibly affect positively or negatively this assembly, which affects this assembly, which affects all of these assemblies. So we need to go through and evaluate what that information is and what's going to be affected. So instead of looking at it here, one of the things we can simply do is go ahead, of course, export this out into an Excel spreadsheet that we can go through and now analyze outside of this environment. So export that out. Now what that actually looks like is simply this report. Sorry. Open. There we go. So it's just like all the other ones. It's just another report that shows the numbers that we can now go through and analyze. So this is the top level item. This is what our initial search was for. It's used here, which is used here, which is used here. So all that information is now there. Once again, we do our analysis and we decide, hey, that information, we can go ahead and make the changes to this. And one of the top level assemblies are the only things that we want to go through and change. So what we're going to do is now revise those, or we can create a copy of those, whatever we want to go in and do. So how do we do that? So I don't want to go in and just select this and say create a problem report on just this item. I'm sorry, there is an ECR, sorry. I don't want to just create a problem report here with just this one item. I want to collect all the items, those other two assemblies, as well as one of the engineering assemblies. So I can come back over here, select on that, do my where used again, and then expand out and say, okay, I also want to collect this. So I don't know if you've noticed, but one of the things that is beneficial with this PDS search is that it doesn't go in and remove my previous information. So as I go through and expand, and I go in and say, yep, where used, I want to take that, and now I want to take this assembly as well. So I can go in and do it this way and continue to collect the items. So now I will end up with all the information, or I'm going to clear all that out. Remember this Excel spreadsheet that we created? I can use that for my list of part numbers. So I'm going to take this Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to simply take this where used report that I exported directly from the system. I'm going to drag it over here, and now I'm going to import the part numbers or search for the part numbers from this Excel spreadsheet. So which ones do I want? I want this is the original item, these are the two assemblies, and then just this top level world car. Now, what column do I want to use for it to search by? I want it to use the number column, so it's going to be column D. So I'm going to say use column D to search and collect these 4 objects. When I go in and say OK, you're going to see this simply says select from a file. When I select search, and now goes in and brings those 4 files into my system. Now I can come over here, select on those, and say go ahead and create the problem report. And I do apologize, I forgot there is an ECR, but there is not an ECN from inside of here. So I can go through and create a problem report, an engineering change request, but not the actual change notice. That will still need to be done from directly inside of Windchill. Is there a way to automate those reports and email them to a distribution list? That will need to be done inside of the actual Windchill environment. If there's a way to do that, there may be something that can be set up, but that wouldn't be something that's through myPDS search. It'll be more through something inside of the actual Windchill reports area. Can you show how to create a? Yep, I'm actually doing that now. So yeah, with this, I'm going to go ahead and change where it goes. This is going to be update, or I should say review material. Category, this is going to be a product improvement. Priority, low priority. Who requested it? I'm going to say an assembler. And then description, review material for weight and strength. And once again, these are the 4 files that are going to be associated with this problem report. And then of course it automatically collected the end items. If I had a picture or anything else, just like we would do in our regular problem report, I can still go through and attach that as a file here. I'm going to go ahead and select OK. At this point, it now goes through and submits the problem report for creation, basically. So I'm going to go in and say, create the problem report. Now, once again, I can go to reports, and I can go in and look at open reports. Just did it. It wants to act funny. There we go. All right, and there's my problem report that I just opened up. Now, as the individual that goes to, when I go back to my home page and I look at my tasks, there is that problem report. So the problem report itself has been submitted to me to actually go through and push it forward. So now I have this problem report. I can now go in and say, yep, okay, what they're looking at, I'm actually going to go ahead and complete this task to actually submit this report. So basically what is happening is I'm getting information from, let's just say, once again, I said an assembler who doesn't have direct access to all the information inside of Windchill, but they can go in and say, hey, this possibly needs to be looked at. I can go through and validate that, yes, this can be looked at. I can also go through and specify who gets it. So right now it is going to be the change administrator 1, which of course is me, and whoever submitted it, which for this case is me as well. But this could be somebody else in some other role that actually submitted it. If I need to go in and add somebody else, I can go through and add this so somebody else also gets attached to this. But at this point, I would go ahead and say complete the task. And now what that actually does is it now creates refresh. There it is. So now I get the task of reviewing the problem report. So now at this point, I'm actually going in and analyzing this, whether it's me by myself or bringing somebody else in to say, hey, is this something that we want to look into? And then this is where the voting comes in. So the first thing that was given to me is the actual submission of the problem report. And then at that point, I would submit it to actually start the process of reviewing it. So that's where this comes in. And then once again, I still have the ability from the PDF search to actually submit an ECR. But this once again now begins our change process from a problem report to a change request to a change notice. But all that can be done to go in and submit this information. Question is there any delay from creating or updating? So let's see. Updating something in Windchill before it will show up in the search. Shouldn't be, no, because it's real time. Is there any delay in creating or updating something in Windchill before it will show up? No, because as you see, when I created my problem report or my request for a problem report from PDF search, it immediately showed up. So no, there's no delay because once again, this is just an overlay on top of Windchill. It's not separate from Windchill. So everything that we're doing is actually real time associated with Windchill. So yeah, it's not an actual separate application that you would go in and use. This is simply laying on your environment. So, all right. So once again, with all that information, with our search, as we saw before, there are multiple ways of going in and working within the environment, whether we're looking at numbers. Like I said, one of the biggest pieces to keep in mind, because we are transitioning from PDM only inside of Windchill to PLM, which is now going to involve multiple departments instead of just the engineering department. Manufacturing gets involved directly inside of Windchill. Quality can get involved directly inside of Windchill. Purchasing, anybody, product manager, project managers, all those individuals can get information from Windchill without actually going into the full-blown Windchill environment. Once again, because a lot of times they're looking for something specific. Give them that part number, let them find the information they need. Once again, keep in mind that we can customize what they find and how they're searching to go in and actually get them exactly what they need. So this environment is still customizable, and as the question was asked before, even when you find something, we can still go through and customize what you're seeing here. So if there are certain attributes that you want to see, we can go through and add those here. So once again, when we do the export, you're exporting the information that is needed for whatever that is going to be used for, whether it's directly importing a BOM into your ERP environment, if it's information for purchasing, so they know what vendors to buy things for, or vendor part numbers. So all that information can still be used here, once again, without having to go through directly engineering designers to go in and find it for them. This information is right here. It's simple for them to find. So as I said, this is the simple environment. All we're doing is saying, here's a part number and give me the related structured drawings, documents, DXF file, step file, or even if it's just one file. I just need the drawing for this. That's all I need to do. I need to find that one drawing. Or, yeah, I need all of the drawings of this entire structure. But of this, I only need to look at one thing. So I want to come over here, and inside of here, let's look at this rod. It actually will pull up that rod. Yep, that's what I needed to find out. What was this width? That's all I needed. I don't need you to download the drawing for me. I don't need all this other stuff to go in and be executed. I just need this. This is the one dimension I needed to confirm. Done. Go in there, find the part number, look at the PDF, perfect, move on. So it, once again, stops a lot of information, a lot of delay in getting information from the system, because everybody now has direct access to the information. And even if you open up the PDF, this one just opens it up inside the browser. So that's still there as well. And then once again, you have the exported PDF that you will go through and see as well. But all that information is right there, once again, for you to view. All right, at this point, are there any additional questions? I do appreciate all the questions throughout the presentation. They were great. I'm glad you guys had questions for those, and I hope I answered them, to your satisfactory, or giving you the information that you needed to understand how the software works. But are there any additional questions? All right. If you do come up with anything, definitely feel free to reach out to me. Here is my information. So it's just michael.wimberly@pdsvision.com. You can just reach out to me directly. If you want to find any information on us, just visit our website, pdsvision.com. We also have a YouTube channel. So our videos will be on there. This video will not be on there directly. It'll be a couple weeks before it actually gets on there. But because you're on this webinar, you will actually get a link to this video. So if you want to share this with anybody in your company because you're curious about, they're curious about the software, you want to talk to them about it, here it is. If once again you want some additional questions on that, feel free to reach out to me with any questions that you have. But yeah, I hope that this was informative for you. And if you need if you have any questions or you need more information, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your day.